When she cradled his shattered hand under the cold hospital light, she didn't know her own life was about to change forever. The city was drenched in midnight blue. Rain fell in silvery threads, a quiet symphony against the hospital's vast glass facade. The streets outside glistened with reflections of amber street lamps, puddles shimmering like broken mirrors. Inside, the emergency room buzzed softly, a sanctuary of fleeting hopes and quiet despair. Amara James pulled her cardigan tighter around her slender frame as she moved down the hall. The sterile scent of antiseptic mingled with the faint trace of rain on her skin. Her worn sneakers barely made a sound on the linoleum floor, but the heaviness inside her chest was unmistakable. She had worked countless nights like this, the endless shifts blending into one another. But tonight felt different. Tonight, the air was thick with unspoken stories. Amara paused outside room 306, her breath catching as she looked through the glass window. There, in the pale hospital bed, lay a man whose life seemed fractured like the bones beneath the white sheets. His eyes were closed, face slack with pain and exhaustion, yet his presence held an undeniable gravity. That man was David Ellis, a veteran recently returned from a war zone overseas, his body and spirit battered by the invisible scars of combat. His fingers twitched slightly as if searching for something lost, something beyond the sterile walls. Amara's hands, steady from years of nursing, trembled for a brief moment. She had seen suffering before, but this man carried a silence that spoke of battles no one could heal with medicine alone. Taking a breath, she stepped inside. David's world was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitors and the distant hum of the hospital's night shift. The room smelled faintly of leather, a lingering trace from his worn military jacket folded neatly on the chair beside him. His jaw clenched as a sharp pain pulsed from his broken arm. Months ago, it had been shattered by an explosion that stole away more than just his limbs' strength. His body was marked, yes, but it was the invisible wounds that threatened to undo him. He had come home a hero to strangers, but to himself, he was broken. Amara pulled on a pair of latex gloves, her fingers gentle as they brushed the cool skin on his arm. Her voice was low and steady. "David, I'm Amara. I'll be taking care of you tonight." He blinked slowly, the weight of his past pressing on him. "I don't do pain," he murmured, voice rough and tired. Her eyes softened. "Maybe tonight you don't have to." Amara's own story was etched quietly in the lines of her face. Raised in a neighborhood where dreams often died young, she had fought hard for every step forward. Nursing wasn't just a job. It was a calling, a way to stitch broken lives together. Yet tonight, looking at David, she felt the fragile thread of hope stretched thin. The hours passed like slow waves. Amara sat beside David's bed, adjusting his bandages, offering sips of water. Their conversations were sparse, shadows of words hanging between them. David's silence was a fortress. Every question about his past was met with a curt shake of the head. He pushed away the nurse's attempts to reach him, keeping the war locked tightly inside. But Amara had a quiet strength. She noticed the little things, the way his fingers curled when he tried to sleep, the slight tremor in his voice when he spoke about his family, long gone. One moment, just before the night shifted toward dawn, David reached out with his unbroken hand and grasped hers. "Why do you care?" he whispered, voice fragile. Amara looked into his eyes, pools of exhaustion and pain, and answered simply, "Because no one should be alone in their darkest night." For the first time since his injury, David's guard lowered, if only just. The next morning, as dawn spilled golden light across the city, Amara sat in the small break room sipping lukewarm coffee when her phone buzzed. Her heart skipped. The call was from a number she did not recognize. "Ms. James, this is Colonel Richards from the Veterans Affairs Office." Amara's mind raced. "Yes, sir? We received your report from last night. The care and compassion you showed Mr. Ellis went beyond the call of duty." There was a pause, and then a surprising offer. "David wants to meet you. There's something important he needs to tell you. something that will change both your lives. Amara's breath caught, memories flooding back. Because David Ellis was not just any veteran. Years ago, before she chose nursing, before the nights and the struggles, her own father had served alongside David in combat. Her father, lost to war, had once saved David's life in the field. And now, years later, David had found her. When David arrived at the small community center later that week, Amara's heart pounded. His eyes searched hers with a mixture of gratitude and something deeper. Regret, perhaps, or hope. "I owe your father everything," he said quietly. He pulled out a small, worn compass, a keepsake her father had given him in their last days overseas. "This was his," David said, voice thick with emotion. "And this is my way of saying thank you, not just for his life, but for yours." He handed Amara a sealed envelope. Inside was a letter, and alongside it documents for a scholarship fund in her father's name, a fund to help veterans' children like Amara pursue their dreams. Tears filled her eyes. "You're not broken," David said, voice steady and kind. "You're becoming." In that moment, the weight of years lifted, replaced by a fragile but fierce hope. Days later, as the sun rose over the city skyline, Amara walked through her neighborhood with new light in her step. The streets were no longer just a place of struggle. They were a canvas for possibility. She held the compass tightly in her palm, a symbol of guidance, connection, and the unexpected kindness that had changed everything. David's voice echoed in her heart, reminding her that sometimes healing begins when two broken stories meet and intertwine. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more inspiring tales of hope, healing, and unexpected kindness. Hit the like button and share this with someone who needs it today.